beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dee. Welcome if you're new. Today I invited a special guest. He's my fiance Sean, and we were inspired by our conversation with my friend Jenny about just dating, and especially how guys see dating, and Sean was able to provide a lot of great insights. That's why we thought maybe we can film a video together just to answer some questions single girls that are still dating might want to know from a guy's perspective. And I asked a bunch of questions from my friend Stella. Thank you for providing us all these great questions about what guys might think in dating in different stages, and let's just jump into it then.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
All right, so the first question is, what are the signals from a guy that show he wants to move from a casual dating to a more committed relationship?
So I would say like kind of the first major signs that a guy's interested in going a little bit further is the amount of time between dates is going to start getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
They're going to be a little bit more frequent, and then I would say the frequency of the kind of communication is going to be there. It's going to be improving. Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to be too kind of like sending too many text messages right out of the gate, especially early on. You want to avoid that because you don't want to come across as needy. You don't want to make it seem like you don't have anything else going on. But he's going to be to the point, and he's going to be asking to go on follow-up dates more and more frequently.
Right. And then what about he's only into some sort of casual dating? What would he do?
Yeah, so typically the telltale signs of if a guy's really only interested in casual dating, he's not going to be texting you at normal hours. Typically the thought of meeting up with a girl again is going to be more so kind of an afterthought after he's hung out with his buddies, after he's done everything that he wanted to on his own.
Yeah.
Typically, if a guy's really only interested in something casual, he's going to be reaching out kind of at the later hours of the day.
Yeah.
He's not going to be texting you like right at the end of the workday or right at the end of school. He's going to be texting you like past 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And there's going to be kind of that like non-verbal kind of vibe to it of he's hoping to just kind of get something out of it without putting too much thought in.
Okay, yeah, with the least effort.
Right, and I mean, he's not going to come in with plans. He's not going to say, hey, let's go to, this restaurant this day at this time. Like, he's not going to be doing that. It's going to be much more kind of like suggestive of, like, hey, like, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. He's not going to be coming in and saying, hey, had a really great time on our last date. Couldn't stop thinking about it, and I'm also thinking about this other place that I really wanted to try, and I wanted to take you there.
Yeah.
He's not going to be doing that.
And then would you say in the Western dating culture, it's up to girls to actually ask, what are we? The what are we question?
I would say so. I know there's probably a lot of people that are like, oh man, like I want him to take that step. But I think the reality of it is, at this point, the guy has been having to do everything flawlessly. He has had to send the right number of text messages showing he's interested but not too needy. He's been having to come up with the plans for where you're going to go on these dates, what you're going to do. He's the one that has been hopefully asking all the kind of like thought-provoking questions of, like, why are you, like, what got you interested in what you're studying? Or, how have you been enjoying like your job so far, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then asking like all the kind of like intriguing questions.
Right.
Making sure not to make it into an interview.
Yeah.
He's been walking a fine line, and he's been putting in his hard work, and he obviously wants to keep it going. And I think that's where
go ahead.
Oh,
I was wondering, would a guy keep a girl waiting for a month before she could ask that question?
I wouldn't say it's unheard of. I mean, it depends on the frequency of the dates. And I would say typically if the guy's genuinely interested and the dates are becoming more and more frequent, you know, there's not like a full week between dates, they're starting to become within days of each other.
Yeah.
I would say that conversation probably will come up somewhere around 3 weeks, maybe a month.
Yeah, I would say a month is a pretty good mark.
Right.
Yeah. And then if a guy just remains silent, but he's still reaching out to the girl, does he still want it, or it's hard to tell?
I mean, yet again, based off my own experiences, I think when it comes to asking the "what are we" conversation, are we something serious? Do you see this going somewhere? I actually am kind of the belief that that is where the girl needs to step up.
Right.
Because yet again, by this point, the guy's been having to do everything right. He's had to maintain the interest of the girl, not come across as needy. He's been planning the dates.
Yeah.
He's been asking all the thought-provoking questions. He's been keeping the conversation engaging. I think that is actually where the girl should be the one to step up.
Right. And then if a guy can't give a straight answer after that, then...
Yeah, I mean, if a guy can't give a straight answer after multiple weeks of increasing date frequency, if he's going to be hesitating when that question comes up, then there's something a little bit off.
Yeah, that's pretty good sign. Yep. And then the next question is, what are the different and similar things that a guy is looking for in a committed relationship versus a casual relationship? What are guys looking for in both, and what are the things that guys are only looking for in a casual and in a committed relationship?
So I'd say in terms of if a guy wants a committed relationship, some of the things that he's going to be looking for is, can the girl keep the conversation going? If the guy is going to be putting in the time and energy to ask kind of like intriguing questions, while at the same time not making it sound like an interview, walking that fine line.
Yeah.
The guy ultimately does want to be heard as well. The guy wants to have the girl ask him questions when he's kind of sharing what's interesting to him.
Yeah.
Some of his hobbies, you know, he would like, you know, if the girl asks, you know, like, when did you like first get interested in going kayaking or hiking or something like that? You know, like what was it that got you interested in that? If the girl isn't going to ask any sort of follow-up questions, if she's going to give very minimal responses, that's really going to kind of kill the guy's interest. A guy wants to know that the girl is genuinely interested in him, just like the girl wants to have a guy ask her questions, show genuine interest. It goes both ways. You know, a lot of people think that guys don't want to talk, you know, and stuff like that. And, you know, for some guys that's true. But I think if it's going to be something truly serious, I think most guys do want somebody to listen to them. I think they want a girl to show that interest in their hobbies, their interests, their work, what they're studying.
Right.
With
casual.
With casual relationships, I mean, it's going to sound a little crude, but I mean, I think most guys are very clear on what they want if it's truly casual.
Yeah.
And yet again, that's where, you know, if they're texting you very late at night, it's kind of obvious what they're interested in, what's on their mind at that time of the night.
Right.
If it's a casual relationship, these guys are not going to be asking you questions about your hopes and dreams.
Right.
These guys are not going to be asking you questions about your career, your education. They're not interested in that if it's truly just casual.
Right, but would they still try to keep you hooked?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the guy feels like he can get something out of it. If the girl keeps responding to those late night text messages, then it shows the guy that this girl's still like interested enough, you know, and he can put in that minimum amount of effort.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as long as the girl keeps giving into it, as long as you keep giving into those very late night text messages that are not thought provoking, that aren't, you know, like, hey, like, you know, how was your day? Like, nothing like that. If a guy wants it to be casual, he's not asking those genuine questions.
Right. And for guys who are more serious, they want a girl that's more, that can provide them company, like emotional company. Would you say a guy that is only looking for something not long term, short term, also wants some emotional company, or sex is the only thing they want?
I mean, and I think that is a massive part of what separates if a guy wants something casual or something genuine and long term.
Right.
Is if the guy is just straight up asking to hook up, or, kind of covertly through those late night text messages insinuating that that's what he wants.
Yeah.
But he is never asking any sort of hard hitting questions. If he is just showing the bare minimum interest in what you have got to talk about.
Right.
He just wants to keep it casual. And if he is like very quickly like, hey, can I, I've got something to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Have a good night. See ya.
Yeah.
That's a very tall tale sign. But I mean, if the guy wants something genuine, one, you're not going to see those very late night text messages. You're going to see them typically at the end of the school day, end of work, maybe
Just
a little bit past that. Yeah, normal time, late afternoon maybe.
Yeah. All right, so that was a great answer. And then the next one is, in your perspective, what are the characteristics of a F-boy, a scumbag, and a toxic man?
I mean, it goes along perfectly with the kind of what I was saying in the previous question. If they are not texting you at normal hours, if they are calling you late into the night, that is a very tall tale sign that they are not the best of guys and they're not genuinely interested in what you have to say.
Yeah.
I would say, if you text him during the day, during normal hours, and he waits hours bordering on almost a full day of absolutely no response, that's a very clear indicator that you don't have his interest. You're not on his mind.
Right.
And
let alone days.
Right, yeah, I mean, like any guy that's waiting days to respond to a single text message, he's not interested.
Yeah.
And the reality is, a guy, if it's a genuine guy and he kind of knows what he's doing, he understands that if he's going to be sending a response within a minute of the girl texting him, that's going to come across as needy. It's going to come across as he's too eager.
Right.
So, I mean, there is a natural kind of like, maybe give it 5-10 minutes before you respond, especially early on.
Right.
But I mean, the reality is everybody's checking their phones nowadays. Everybody is always on social media. Everybody's always having their phone out. There's no possible way that he's not seeing your text messages.
Yep.
He sees them. He just does not feel an urgency to respond to them.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're going hours and hours, especially when you texted him at a normal time of the day, like the afternoon, that's a very, very big kind of sign that he's not genuinely interested.
Right. And then if a guy is genuinely interested in you, he wouldn't be able to help himself to answer your message.
And I mean, like if there actually was like a noticeable gap in response time, if it's a genuine dude, like, because yet again, somebody might genuinely be busy. They might have had something come up.
Yeah.
So if it's a guy that is actually interested, he'll probably say something along the lines of, hey, sorry, it took me a little bit to respond. I had this come up.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, he'll say sorry, he'll apologize for the delay. That's typically a good sign.
Yeah, he'll acknowledge.
Right. Like, he'll make note and literally point out the fact that, hey, like, I'm sorry, it was a little bit for a response.
Yeah. All right, that makes sense. And then next one, what are the things that a girl does guys cannot stand during dating?
Definitely checking social media and checking their phones during an in-person date is a massive, massive turnoff. Because if the guy is genuine, if he really cares, he's putting his time and his energy in, he's trying to be as smart as possible, avoid making mistakes. And if he's doing all that and he sees the girl just pulling out her phone middle of the date, it's going to bother him because he's going to feel as if all his efforts are just being completely ignored. It's, to the guy, the girl may as well be saying, I find whatever is on my screen more interesting than what you have to say.
Yes.
That will drive a normal, genuine dude insane. It will really bother him.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of girls are well, also guys are doing that because we're in such in a time where we're saturated by social media and constant notification.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of leads into another thing that I think really does bother a lot of guys is any sort of, those very low energy 2 or 3 word responses through messages, or even in an in-person date. If you tell a girl about one of your favorite hobbies and she can only offer up, oh, that's cool, that will bother a guy.
Right.
If he's taking the time to ask you genuine questions about what interests you and what matters to you, he would like the same in response. If he wants something serious, he'll want a girl that is going to follow through and do the same thing for him and ask thought-provoking questions. But if he gets those 2 or 3 word responses, he's going to feel like he's not being listened to.
Right. And then on the other side of the spectrum, what would you think a guy find girls needy?
Or I mean, like what would I guess what would be considered needy by a guy? Right. I would definitely say any sort of like very routine, extremely early in the day, like, hey, like how's it? Like, I mean, it'd be nice, like 1 or 2 kind of those like, hey, good morning, hope you had a great night, really enjoyed our last date, something like that. Yeah, that's fine. But if it's like every single day, especially when it's early on in the dating, especially if it's, if you haven't had the what are we conversation yet.
Oh, yes.
Any sort of like super routine, every single day getting those text messages, I mean, what's the expression? Like distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Oh, yes.
There is a healthy amount of distance that you do need to maintain, especially during the first few dates.
Right. And then just maybe pouring their whole life story.
Yeah, any sort of kind of describing their major stressors or some sort of family issues. A guy really doesn't want to hear about family issues early on. That's going to be, in his head, that's a red flag.
Yes.
But yeah, if a girl feels the need to bury her soul to you before you have even had the what are we conversation, that's gonna come across as super needy.
All right, that's really important to know for a lot of girls. And then the next one is actually the last question. What are the signs from a guy that show he's not interested in a girl whatsoever?
If he's not interested in a girl whatsoever, I mean, ghosting goes both ways. And, obviously you would hope that if the guy's mature enough, if he is respectful enough, he would at least send a message or a phone call saying, hey, it's been fun. I just don't see it going anywhere. I hope this is okay. I hope we can be friends.
Yeah.
But most likely for girls, if they're in the dating game nowadays, they're going to see that ghosting goes both ways. Guys are more than capable of ghosting.
Right.
Or, I mean, yet again, I would hope, if they're a little bit more mature, they would at least send the, hey, it's been fun. I just don't see this going anywhere.
Right. Would you say guys would go out of their way to let the girl know that he's not interested?
If he isn't kind of like a scummy guy, yeah, I would really hope so. And I think in most cases, if the guy is a genuine guy, if he's a good dude, he's going to make it known to the girl that he just doesn't see it going anywhere.
Right. And would you say a guy would use a family or friend as an excuse to say that he can't commit to a girl for now if he's actually interested in the girl?
Ooh. Well, I mean, if it wasn't, man, I was initially thinking like if he uses some sort of excuse, like, hey, I've had family stuff come up, or hey, I've got some stuff going on in my personal life that's been bothering me. That's absolutely, like, guys do that. That if a guy's saying, hey, I've got family stuff, or hey, I'm dealing with something mentally, that's probably his kind of excuse of like, I don't want to come across as super mean. I'm trying to pull the sympathy card a little bit and get out of this without it kind of being uncomfortable.
Right.
So guys will absolutely use that. But like it was, what was the final part of that question?
Oh, if he's actually interested in the girl, would he pull that card, sympathy card, to her?
Well, I mean, if a guy's genuinely interested, he's not going to be saying, "I got to get out of this."
Yeah. Well, that answers it. All right, so I think those are all of the questions from Stella. Since we're running out of time, we'll leave questions from Jenny to the future video if you're interested in coming here again. And that's all for this video. And if you have any other questions you want to ask us or Sean, just leave it in the comment section below. And thank you again for joining us.
No problem whatsoever.
All right, I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.